this should be down here.
A piece of riverfront property that 45-year-old Brandon claimed 3 months ago.
Well, I am homeless, but I built my own home.
Brandon says he was evicted from his basement apartment. He says he has money to find a new place to live, but he chose this spot.
Doesn't cost much to live like this.
His camp is on the Bow River across from Princess Island. He's got all of his stuff, including pots and pans to cook breakfast and dinner.
I don't need help from anybody else, you know what I mean? Like I say, I'm well-bodied, I can get a job anytime I want, you know what I mean? I got money saved up.
He says he's on a spiritual journey, trying to find out more about himself.
Like who I am, like what I'm capable of, what I need and what I don't need.
Cert 6-1.
Calgary police are also on a search looking for illegal encampments like Brandon's.
Oh, I think I see it. It's over here.
In the southwest, near Rocky View Hospital, officers are checking on an encampment that someone reported. So far this year, Calgarians have made nearly 5,000 calls related to encampments.
City Police, we're just here to check on you. Is anyone here?
This camp is in a heavily treed area on a hill overlooking the Glenmore Reservoir.
We're coming in.
It's been here for a while. A staircase carved out of the hill leads into one of the structures. Several tarps make up the roof, which is held up by insulated wall panels. There's at least 3 tents here. There's blankets, clothes, some food, and possibly some stolen property.
As we can see, this probably doesn't belong to them.
There are piles of stripped copper wire. While recognizing every crime has a victim, some officers say they're taking a different approach.
We have to recognize that, thefts and, scavenging copper wire and things like that aren't violent offenses. So to a certain degree, we use our discretion to address those issues.
Constable Langford says they were hoping to meet the people who live here. They would likely have issued a warning about the illegal campsite, but dismantling it would not be their first move.
At the end of the day, whether it's in the right spot or not, this is somebody's home, so we have to be respectful of that.
The Calgary Police Service's Community Engagement Response Team is being expanded citywide. It was put in place to address concerns about encampments and the people who are living in them. Police and peace officers work together, along with social agencies, to help find permanent solutions for people who are sleeping rough. They say one of their goals is to show more empathy.
I love to ask people what their story is and what brought them here, and just explain my intentions. Hey, we're here to check on your well-being. Generally, it's there's an element of you can't be camping here, and trying to get them connected with resources on that first step, and following up with enforcement if necessary. Looks like they're stripping wire.
The city lays out how encampments are removed, a process that could take 30 days, if not longer. And it includes connecting people to various supports that could lead to more permanent housing.
Hey Dakota, are you home?
One of those agencies is Alpha House. Their team checks on people who are living in encampments. This campsite is one of several near Max Bell Arena.
It's Alpha House encampment. Is anyone home?
No one seems to be around.
And when was the last time you saw a doctor?
The Alpha House encampment team has been around for years. The agency says what's changed is better communication and cooperation with Calgary Police and bylaw services, which can lead to a more compassionate approach.
So if we have, for example, we have one person that's might be in housing next week, if we can just keep them around for a bit, like maintain that contact, they'll work with us because they understand that permanent solution is coming instead of just kicking the camp down the road for someone else to deal with them down the line.
But it's difficult work. Officers who work with vulnerable people say it can take months or even years to help.
It took them, X period of time to get into the situations they currently find themselves in. And I would say it's going to take X times 2 to undo that and get back to a place of comfort for them.
Trying to downsize.
While Calgary Police generally start with a verbal warning, it can escalate to enforcement if someone continues to break either bylaws or other offenses.
I camp. I don't have housing right now, so Calgary is short in housing, I guess.
Kimberly says she's been sleeping rough in Calgary for 5 years.
You kind of get stuck in here, though. It's like you're in the situation, and then you just kind of fall deeper and deeper if you don't get out right away.
She says the deaths of her husband and brother changed her life. She says she got lost in her grief.
It's something I didn't know how to deal with.
Officers are giving her a warning to pack up her belongings within 24 hours. If she doesn't, she could be fined or given a court date. She says she's on a wait list for housing and is desperate to find a place.
I can't be out here anymore. I can't do another winter. There's no way I could do another winter.
I think I went there with Rob before, and the guy had like dug a pit.
A short drive away, officers take me to another location along an old rail line.
There's one here. There's one that's been dug into the side of the hill back there.
No one's here, but a glimpse inside and you can see how part of the embankment was carved out to make the back wall.
This is unsanitary too, obviously. Nobody should be living, and there's food waste, there's human waste, signs of drug use.
Sergeant Thorpe isn't sure how many encampments there are in Calgary. He says the number of calls they receive each year is around 7,000, but that's not a true reflection of how many there are.
It's quite remarkable just how quickly the situation changes on the ground and sort of that pace of updates that we're seeing.
The Calgary Homeless Foundation is trying to answer that question. It's developed a new app to track the number of encampments, who's living there and what sort of help they need.
I think we really didn't have a real-time understanding of the situation as it stands in our city, and this is where this tool is going to provide that. From that caseworker knowledge, they can have an understanding of what individuals need when they're in encampments, what services have they been provided, and their histories. And then at that sort of our level, at that funder level, we can make those better system planning decisions and choose where appropriate resources and programming should go to once again help those get on their journey to being housed.
An expert in urban social geography says the strategy of connecting people who are sleeping rough to housing and other supports is a good first step.
It sounds a lot more reasonable to me than simply having a policy of just clearance, because moving the problem around doesn't really solve the problem, in the sense that if you just sort of move people and you can't figure out ways of managing how to either transition people into housing or how to transition them into temporary housing, all they're going to do is just end up sleeping rough, and that's really doesn't serve really anyone at all.
I'm in the midst of packing up.
In East Village, Matthew is packing up all of his bikes and bike parts. He's been asked to leave this area. He's been homeless in Calgary for more than 2 years.
Lost my house, lost my job.
He says his dream is to find an affordable place to live.
It's ridiculous. I've seen places where it's $1,100 just for a room.
He says he's going to head to a campground in the Northwest, but he's not going to give up looking for a better place.
Just cheaper rent, you know, that'd make things a lot easier for a lot of people.
So you can see there how it's dug in.
One possible solution for a problem that seems to be well established. Brian Labby, CBC News, Calgary.